Good evening, everyone. Welcome to IQI Canada Evening Talk. The month of December, the first Mondays, which is the Maple Mondays. It's always a pleasure, talking to our international investment advisor, Mr. Haroon Anwar. Good morning, Haroon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Yousaf. Thank you so much, and good evening to you as well.
Thank you so much, Haroon. We realize that this is our 2021 last Maple Monday when we have this
Hmm.
conversation, and then you and I will start up with a new year, with our Maple Mondays in 2022.
Well, I don't know if you've come across this news item that in Canada there's a shortage of maple syrup and they have tapped into the reserves now.
That's right. I've heard about that news as well. But
So,
but we'll
so
still
let's make
continue with
sure
our
we
Maple
generate
Mondays.
enough maple from our talks also.
I'm sure we do, because very interestingly, even after our talk shows, we get a lot of interest from the people, and who keep looking at our talks, and the good thing is that we're able to relate to a lot of topics when we talk about those topics which are related to probably you and me, as we go through our daily life routines and what we have seen probably through our careers as well.
Hmm.
So, coming to our topic today, Haroon, motivation and factors that influence our life goals.
Hmm.
A very, very important topic. A lot of time we people set up goals. I think everybody set up goals, as a matter of fact. Not towards just the start of the year. This is the time when people are setting up their goals, especially
Right.
in the month of January. A lot of goals are made on 31st of December.
Right.
That probably last on the first or the second of January on that. For me, it might be the short term goals on that. But then a lot of the time we have seen that people are achieving goals and some people are not achieving goals on that. So let's talk
Hmm.
about it. What could be the reasons when somebody is not able to achieve their goals?
It's a very interesting topic, Yusuf. I think we are all driven by certain desires to go in certain direction. Okay, so and it starts early in our childhood days. It's sometimes not even taught. You can see that some people from early days they start exhibiting behaviors of self motivation to move forward and do things, accomplish certain things, and it could be across any reason. It could be across a children race, or it could be along a swimming competition, whatever it might be. Some people tend to be a bit more competitive and goal driven than others.
Yeah.
So you've raised a very interesting point. Why certain individuals are more driven towards their goals than others. And I'm not a psychologist, so I can't claim to give you any kind of theory around that or
Yeah.
academic research. But as a practitioner who has worked
Hmm.
in the field and has worked with salespeople predominantly, and I've also worked with other individuals, I can certainly tell you that individuals who are motivated, individuals who are driven, and they're working towards a goal are the ones who have dreams, who
Yep.
have visions. Okay.
Yep.
A lot of times, I think people see having ambition as a negative trait. Sometimes,
Yeah.
people say, "Oh, he's too ambitious," right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and it's seen as it is seen as a negative trait, uh,
That's right.
rather than saying that this person is stretching beyond their capability or stretching beyond their ability. So we see people getting judged. But in terms of if you look at super performance, and I'm now talking about our heroes of likes of Elon Musk. I'm just picking him as an example. A lot
Yep.
of people would call his vision of building an electric car when it was not really a mainstream thing as overambitious or maybe completely out of the norm, or decision to make commercial space flights.
Mm-hmm.
But he was self motivated, he was driven, he had a
Yeah.
vision, and he wanted to go out there and prove to himself, more so than the others, that it can be done. And one of the
Very
things
true.
I, I like about successful people in general is that they are not easily dissuaded by what other
Yeah.
people think about them. If you look at the life of successful people, whether they are actors or they are athletes or they are scientists,
Yeah.
you look at them, uh, they will take every rejection with still a great sense of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
So, actors,
Very
if you
valid
look
point.
at the successful actor's story, any successful actor's story, they would probably say, "Oh, I was turned down so many times before I got my first break." Or a scientist who will say, "I failed in so many of my experiments before I made it right." Okay, even businessmen, entrepreneurs will say, "Well, I lost money in three of my businesses before I got my fourth one right."
Very, very true. You made a very valid point. The dreams, the vision, and the self motivation, Harun, as you rightly said. A lot of time people do get detracked, as you rightly said. Maybe trying one time, two times, three times, and they feel like, what, that's it. The motivation built by itself, it's not there because sometimes, maybe revisiting goals could be one of the reasons as well. For example, a lot of time people will come up with the fitness goals, right? They will say that I
Hmm.
would like to become fit, but then all of a sudden we see that that fitness goal which started, is not going there. Maybe because that motivation is not there, right? A lot of time people get up early in the morning, and sometimes people say, what, I don't want to get up early in the morning. So what do you think about it? Like people who want to get up early in the morning, is that like some sort of motivation that drives them, or the people who are enjoying themselves say, what, it's okay, I can get my work done. I don't have to be a morning person.
So, Yusuf, it's a very fascinating discussion point on why we do certain things. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's take the example of weight loss.
Hmm.
Now, there are certain individuals who demonstrate better outcome than the others. So then the question becomes, what is the driver behind weight loss?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give an example. Most people try to lose weight right before a
Hmm.
major event, let's say like a wedding. So
Yeah.
everyone wants to look good in the pictures, and they know a wedding is coming up or a summer break is coming up, and they want to look fabulous in their bathing suits. You've heard these cliche
Yeah,
that
even
in
at the
two,
holidays
three
time,
months
right? Everybody
before,
wants to get good in the holiday parties as well.
yeah, so 2, 3 months before that.
Yeah,
But if you look at it, this is a short-term goal, very defined timeline,
that's right.
and even if they're successful, it's not for anything beyond that. So yes, someone may be able to, and we've seen people do that. They
Yeah.
can lose weight, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, or equivalent in kgs, and
And
right
and they
before the
gain weight as
wedding,
well. Yeah.
yes, and immediately after that they gain weight.
Yeah.
Okay? A lot of men say, and I'm talking about men in particular, oh, I must lose weight. And then if you ask them, well, what's your reason for losing weight? They say, I want to look good. Okay,
That's
then
right.
why do you want to look good? Well, if I look good, then I'll attract certain kind of people in my life. Okay,
That's right.
so there's a thought process. But what if they can attract people in their life without looking good?
Very
Will
true.
they still
Very
want
nice.
to lose weight?
No, motivation is not there.
Correct. So see, that's the whole thing. So this
Yeah.
is how we define our goals. If our objective is that we want to be healthy for ourselves, okay,
That's
forget
right.
about other people. We want to be healthy for ourselves and for our heart to operate optimally, an important aspect, our liver to operate optimally, and
Yeah.
all of those things have to function. Then we need to be a certain weight level.
That's right.
Okay. And
That's
if
right.
it is meant for and it's not about living long. A lot of people confuse health with longevity of life. Well, it's no,
Yeah.
it's about whatever day you're spending. Are
You
you
should be
able to
healthy.
get the maximum joy out of it, right?
Exactly.
So that goal is a sustainable goal. That goal is a
Yeah,
long-term goal because that's not going to change. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, I don't want to have a great, joyful life every
yeah,
day, so I'm going to be fat a certain day," and so they will sustain them. So, but if they define these goals properly, then I personally think that they would last longer. Okay,
very nice.
and
Very
they
well
will
said.
be
Very well
motivated
said.
to come out of bed or go to the gym or do whatever exercise they have to do.
So that kind of brings to like a mindset sort of a scenario as well. What you're saying is that a lot of time it's like even defining the goals, it also goes with your mindset as well. As you very rightly said, if the mindset is just to look good for a certain time period, you probably will achieve that, and after that you will go back to a normal routine on that. But if your goal is that as you said, it's not a matter of living longer, but being living healthier. Because one of the reasons for going to the gym or keeping yourself fit is because of those reasons. So I think it's a lot to do with the mindset as well on that. So coming back to my thing, like waking up early in the morning, and before I do that, let's say hi to Antoli. Hey Antoli, how are you doing? All day from IQI Thailand. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, Haroon.
So, use of mindset. Okay,
Yeah.
some individuals, in my view, are gifted. They have a mindset, even when they are in their younger age, to be resilient.
Hmm.
They can face adversity and they can move on. Others are tend to be followers. They
Hmm.
look at what everyone else is doing, and if everyone else is doing, they're driven by it. And then there are people who will be just the opposite. They will rebel against everything. They will question everything. So this mindset is partially also intrinsic to our personality. Okay, and
Hmm.
those behaviors sometimes you can even see in children. Same family, same parents. You have 4 or 5 children, and you will see that each sibling is different than the other on how they
Yeah,
deal with that.
true,
Now,
true.
now that's what they are internally driven by. But what we try and do is help shape them, help calibrate that, and help them see the value of doing certain things, which are what we also call character carving or character shaping.
Yeah.
And this is where motivation is such a key thing. Is if we can see the goals. So I'm going to step back here a bit. First of
Yeah.
all, motivation comes from within, but it
Hmm.
is also triggered by external factors.
Yeah. Very true.
Now, external factors, let's take an example of any military regime.
Yeah.
People, when they join military, whether they like it or not, in the morning at 4:30, the bugle is, blown.
You got
Everyone
to
has
be
to
up.
go
Yes.
out, and you got to run, right?
That's true. That's true. That's right.
Every morning they will make you run because it's not a
Yep.
question of how you're feeling that day. It's not a
True.
question about your
True.
mood, whether you want to do it or not.
You have to do it.
You have to do it. And
Yeah.
they will instill that kind of discipline in
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
that it changes your level of behavior.
Yeah.
Your own mind, whether you want to do it or not do it, is completely overrated. That option is taken off the checklist.
And that's true. And you see, the rest of their life also they follow the same routine. You know,
Exactly. That's
because the
exactly
way
what I
they've
was
been
trying to
trained up.
say. So our human mind, like
Yeah.
I said, when we are born with certain things, we have a thing. I feel like doing it. I don't feel like doing it.
Hmm.
So by pushing through external environment and factors, by making that person do it over and over and over again, that optionality in our mind is taken off. Say it
Very,
doesn't exist
very,
anymore. You have to do it. And
very
when
true.
you start
Very true.
doing it, you start exhibiting certain behaviors
Hmm.
which allow you to continue and sustain it over a long period of time. So coming back to that example, well, You still have 100 people getting up in the morning. You still
Yeah.
have those 100 people running every morning. Half of
Hmm.
them are running because that's what they have to do. There's no choice whether
That's
they
right.
like it or not.
Yeah,
Half of them are really enjoying it. They're saying, well, this is the best time in the morning when I run.
that's true.
And there are some people who are still going to be grudging and looking to drop out.
They've been forced to run in the morning.
So the question is, not all of them, or out of all 100, we are not going to say that all of them will survive. 10 may still drop
Hmm.
out. But
Yeah,
now 90% of them are in the new mindset. Same applies to sales. So if you were to
that's
look at
true.
your own sales team, okay,
Hmm.
and and everyone who joins the sales, they know they have to achieve targets,
Yeah.
and they have to achieve targets because then they get paid. When
Hmm.
they get paid, it allows them to buy things for themselves, for their
True.
families, have a
True.
living, etc. The question then becomes that how come some people are so motivated every morning that they're driven to make the phone calls, they're driven to find the next opportunity, and keep going and doing it consistently day
Yeah.
over day,
Yeah.
while the other ones are hit and miss, and
True.
a lot of times just give up halfway. So
Absolutely.
my question to you is, I gave you the military example, which was a bit forced.
Yeah.
I would say real estate sales would be similar because there's no one
True.
forcing you to get up and do it. But you still see the similar behavior pattern. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Arun. That's a very, very, very point. Something we just now mentioned about the discipline, which is very important, especially when you are getting into the sales and we talk about real estate. So one question always comes in is that like, who is actually watching you? When you are getting a self-employed. If I work, yes, I get my sales target. If I don't work, I get my sales target. So I think there are two kinds of people here. When I'm talking about, especially about the mindset of it, is that one sort of mindset of people are the go-getters. They discipline themselves. you know they still get up and follow up a routine. So I'll give an example. And I'll just talk about myself. I'm a person who cannot work from home. you know the most difficult thing for me is to work from home. I am so productive being in my office. And ever since I've been like, I've got to get up, get into my routine, get up, shower up, change up, and go there. There's a lot of people who are okay in terms of their own comfortable way of doing it. I'm not saying that they're not able to achieve those things on that. It's from person to person. But then what also comes in, especially when the sales thing comes, is that, who are you answerable to? Who is the accountability factor there on that? Are you willing to the dream, the vision, the goals you have set up on that? Are you do you keep revisiting your goals as well? For example,
Hmm.
we decide that I'll be doing, again, I'll talk about the salespeople. I decided in the morning, I said, you know what, I'm going to do 25 transactions, a year, or 30 transactions a year on that, in terms of that. But then what comes into factor is that how do you really, plan it up very well as well at the same time on that. And plan that, what, there are cold calls which I'll do. There are rejections which will happen, very honestly. You start working on the deal, you work for 2 to 3 months, and you realize that deal is not going to go through. What is next? Are you going to be like disheartened, get away on that or not? Now, there's also one set of people who are, I say, in their comfort zone. When I say about comfort zone, is that because they are very secure, they're very happy where they are. You know, they always want to, think of, "Hey, I need to go out and do certain things, but let me make this sort of this sort of a pay, this sort of a money on that, and then I'll think about of doing something like that. Or I'm okay in my own comfort zone. I'm okay that I'm working in this particular area of sales. I have achieved what I was supposed to achieve. If I try to go to a different area or look at a different, different product as you know, in real estate, there are different products as well. And I just want to relate to real estate because, being in real estate, for example, is there a pre-construction, a commercial or residential, or even the leases on that? But then,
Right.
if you think that you're very comfortable in doing certain things, you may not be able to come out of there on that. So that's the reason, on a sales perspective as well. When you see a lot of salespeople, you see
Right.
different results. Some people are very, very self motivated. I would say focused, very well driven in doing that. And some people are there, but probably, the focus somehow they get lost, or they are always thinking the same thing as well. What if I don't do this? Let me get back to my second thing as well, right? When you start creating options for yourself, you know,
Mhm.
maybe that's also one of the reasons your self motivation that is not there, and you do get distracted from your goals.
So well put, Yusuf. And I was just thinking about all these personalities that we come across. Um, and you mentioned comfort zone a few times. And, and I have always wondered as well why people who have the potential to do more don't do more. So, comfort zone basically implies that they are capable, but they will not step out of the boundaries
That's right.
to be. And by definition, they become underachievers.
Yeah.
Okay, they've not really stretched to their potential. Now, just purely on your observation of these individuals, I have a question on that, bro. You know,
Sure.
without, we won't take names, but there are some
No, no.
people who are performers, right? And I'm not talking about sales performers.
Yeah.
I'm talking about performers who like to sing on the stage, who like to
True.
dance on the stage.
True.
These are the individuals who want admiration of an audience.
Yeah.
They're happy, they're comfortable performing, and others are not. They're scared to death.
Mhm.
Just being on stage
Mm.
scares them. That how
That's
many
true.
eyes are looking at me right now? I cannot be
Yeah.
on the stage.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, if you apply the same principle to the sales world, somebody who has to get out of this comfort zone will be watched by others
That's
on
right.
how they're performing,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And people who want to stay in their comfort zone are the ones who don't want people to watch, others to watch them.
True. Very well said.
So
Very well said.
they're trying to stay hidden in shadows somewhere and pretend that nobody is watching them or looking at them, so they can avoid that constant. So I guess it also comes down to a level of our own self-esteem and self-worth. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, where a, let's say, B grade student is happy to remain a B grade student because they feel that's just enough for them to get by in life.
True.
Okay? That's why the mediocrity. That's, I'm sorry, I'm not putting down B grade students or
No,
anything
no, no,
here,
no.
but I'm saying
Yeah.
in our bell curve, we have always talked about mediocrity,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what creates that mediocrity is that level of not trying hard enough, even though you have the ability, because people
That's
are
true.
afraid that others will judge them, others will look at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so here's the option: I can try and fail, and then people will say you failed,
Yeah.
or I don't try at all. And then if I don't try
True.
it, I will not fail, right?
True.
In
True.
their
True. True.
minds, they have worked out a formula that if you don't try, you can't fail.
Very
Whereas the
well
one,
said.
yeah, I'm just saying this is one of the
Yeah.
reasons why people are not motivated. It's not because they have a lot of money. So one could argue, well, he's already a billionaire, right?
Yeah.
So he's not motivated. He's got enough. But what we see is that the billionaires who have enough money are still putting in 16 hours a day.
That's true.
So it's not
That's
the
true.
money that's driving them. It's
Agreed.
certainly not the money that's driving them at that point in time. I mean, let's
Absolutely.
look at our favorite example, Warren Buffett. Okay,
Yeah.
he's what, in his 80s now, I believe, if I'm
That's
not
right. Yep.
mistaken.
Yep.
Okay, and given his wealth, he has enough that if, normally people say, oh, I will retire at 55, I'll retire at 60, or whatever age people pick, right? And they have
Yeah.
wealth which is nowhere near his level of wealth.
True. True. True.
Okay. Now he's in his 80s, and the kind of wealth he has, and given a normal lifespan of a human being, he can easily, very well, not do anything and still have enough,
True.
more than enough,
True.
I would say. So, what
That's right.
drives
Yep.
him? What motivates him? Why does he get out of bed every morning and works through a discipline of reading newspapers, making phone calls, meeting people? Is it to make more money? I think that's way beyond that.
Absolutely. 100%.
So, the mission that that person has for himself is what's driving that person forward. It's not to
True.
make money, it's not to do anything. And that's where our level of motivation comes down to our salespeople and other people. What is
Yeah.
their motivation? Can it be sustained? Now, if there's a real estate person, I'm just giving this as an example,
Sure. Hmm.
who sets his real estate salesperson who sets his motivation that
Hmm.
my life, as my role, is to help people live their best life. Okay, that's his motivation. So he says every morning I go out there and I help people find the right homes for themselves so they can have their life objectives met, whether they're living
Yeah.
in it for themselves or investors, etc. But that's that real estate person's goal. And
Yeah.
he motivates himself that he's helping them out achieve that goal. What
Hmm.
will happen is that motivation will help that person keep going day in, day out, and money will be just one of the outcomes
True. True.
because that person
Very
is
true.
so driven by that passion that
Yep.
so you will see the difference between real estate calls.
True.
A sales agent will say, I spent 10 hours with this guy and they could not decide. What a waste of my day.
Exactly. Mindset again. Yep.
Again, that's right. And another person will say, in those 10 hours, I saw some new communities, I saw some new houses. And I think even though this family did not pick this house, I know five other families who would have liked that house. If I show it to them,
Lovely.
they would want it. It's
Lovely.
completely how they look at those things.
Lovely. Lovely. What an amazing example you have given. It's a matter of learning that what you do it. And one of the things which, I've learned through sales is that whatever you are doing, if you have a mindset that it's not getting wasted because today what you're putting, you may not see the results come out immediately, but
Mm,
sooner or the later, what experience you have gained in doing showing those 10 hours or 20 hours or whoever you've seen on that, spend on that experience will definitely in cash in future as well. So if you start taking it as a learning curve and start looking at it from the perspective that I have learned something new today, then and again talking about sales or anything like that, then your mindset is very clear that hey, you know what, it didn't happen. Maybe it wasn't meant to happen. But then tomorrow, when you're dealing with somebody else or somebody else you already had in the past who has already mentioned to you that I was looking for something like that, right away then and there you'll think about it. Oh, this is not wasted. I need to go and really put this effort somewhere else and use that on that. So very well defined. What you just now said about how people look at in terms of their
correct.
perspective as well.
And Yusuf, while you were saying this, it just occurred to me the significance of self-talk.
Yeah.
So our
Oh wow.
mindset is driven by our self-talk. Okay,
Beautiful. Yeah.
if we keep telling ourselves in our head, in our mind, that this, first of all, a lot of times I have seen people blame others for their condition.
True.
A lot of time. My boss
Yeah.
is like that. My mother is like that. My father didn't do it. So we are
Yeah.
always putting the responsibility of our current condition
True.
on someone else.
True.
Okay. Now, the moment we give that control into someone else's hands, whomever that person might be,
Hmm.
we have no longer the control of our own direction and destiny. And again, we'll
Good.
look at some of the successful people versus less successful people. The successful people don't let the environment and conditions define themselves.
True.
And we have situations like Nelson Mandela, who was
Yeah.
in prison for over 20 odd years. Did he ever give up hope? I mean, one would have thought that this person who is now in prison for this long
Will
will
become
come
great.
out
Yeah.
and become a global leader. People would want to
Exactly.
talk to him, and he will become president of this
True.
country. Okay,
True.
I'm just give, and then he
Yeah.
was, so forgiving in his nature that the same guards who imprisoned him and were brutal to him, he invited them to his
Yeah.
ceremony just to show that, look, you could not crush my spirit. Now, same
True.
principle
True.
applies to our sales agents or
Yeah.
people. So let's say, I'm just giving a hypothetical example.
Sure.
A woman is very driven. She wants to be a top
Mm-hmm.
real estate salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm taking woman in this case for a particular reason. And her
Yeah.
father says, no, you cannot do this as a career. You cannot do this
Yeah.
as a job. I don't want you to be going out there. Now, she has two choices. On one side, she's driven by this
Yeah.
feeling that she can do this. And
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, she has a father who's controlling. Now, she can give up and get demotivated to say, hey, look, I want to do it, but my father won't
Yeah.
let me do it.
True.
Okay. Or she can approach it differently and try and get to a stage of negotiation with the father, because at the end
Yeah.
of the where she can demonstrate that as a woman, she can really help other women, because women are in real estate. Women are the major decision makers on sale of real estate. You know
Oh,
that, especially in
absolutely.
marriage. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So how significant a good successful career it can be for a woman, okay,
Yes.
versus her maybe taking another. So it really depends on how she motivates herself and negotiates her way to that position with her father, rather than getting demotivated by her saying that, oh, my father doesn't allow me, so I cannot do anything in life. And I've seen that many
Mm-hmm.
times. People blame
Mm-hmm.
others for their
True.
condition. Uh, and so that's demotivation. Unmotivated is a person who is just not willing to even try.
Yeah.
And we see a lot of times parents would complain about their child who's unmotivated to go to school, or unmotivated to get
Mm-hmm.
a job, or
Yep. Yep.
unmotivated to do certain things because they're complacent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
now the
Yep.
question becomes, what's driving that complacency?
Mm-hmm.
And again, somewhere in the back of their mind is this fear of failure.
That's right.
If you really dig deep into it, they
Mm-hmm.
feel that the world is watching them.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of sensitivity that, oh, if
Mm-hmm.
this person has said this about me, that means I'm not good enough. And
True.
if I just don't try, then nobody
Yeah.
can criticize me and nobody can judge me. So
Very well. That's right. Yep.
if you look at the human behaviors, you will see this pattern in the people. And then the question becomes, when we look at those behaviors, is to say that, do they have enough self-worth?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give my example. Let's say I have self-worth and I say, okay, I'm good at what I do. I'm just
Yeah.
giving whatever. And somebody else comes and says, Haroon, you are bad at it. You're terrible at it. Okay. If I don't have enough self-confidence and my self-talk is not positive, every single comment another person makes, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm not good.
That's
I,
right. Yeah.
I'm not, you and subconsciously, a lot of times these patterns and behaviors come in from our homes and houses, where the parents would say negative things about their children. You know, they just don't even realize they're saying this, and
Yep.
some of their children, they just, you know they don't take it seriously. But
True.
there are other
True.
children who are sensitive,
Yeah.
and they really get affected by those comments,
That's true. That's
and
that's
they
true.
become unmotivated. They just don't even want to try anymore.
Wow, what an amazing thing you said, about self-talk and also about certain things, certain behavior, which is probably being done, and people, as you said, of not trying is one of those kind of people. If people start thinking like, what if, even if I try, people are still going to laugh at me. So it's better that I just hide somewhere and just continue the way things are going in my life. And you know what? again, relating it to the sales, I have seen a lot of time it's related directly to sales as well. But a lot of people, they have a lot of potential to do certain things, but they don't do it. One of the reasons is that, like, they would think, like, oh, what if I fail? You know? And
Hmm.
that's where it makes a big difference, and people keep trying. And, the self-talk part, what you said, believe it or not, I mean, that is so important in any kind of a business you are in, whether it's sales business or even in your own career as well. When people come and say, you know what, you're not good at something like that. And that's where you have this self-talk to saying, like, okay, if I did not do this correctly, what was a self analysis of looking at it, what I did not do it right. you know if you start doing a self analysis of yourself, or even looking at it, you know maybe I was wrong, or maybe, what, I wasn't wrong at all. So many times when you come across, I think I did the whole thing pretty good on that. Okay, let me give it another shot, and let me just do it a different way on that. I think that kind of a mindset again triggers a lot, and that is very much required when you talk about, in terms of the motivation and reaching to the self goals on that. Having said that, Arun, what I want to also talk about is, I just enjoyed this conversation so much, and now we're coming towards a new year, right? And a
Yes.
lot of time, I started, like a lot of people, set up goals, and they're not able to even achieve them, or they set up goals very short term, thinking like, I'll do this. And some people are very good in terms of writing everything down. This is what I'll do. This is what I'll do. This is what I'll do. But right in the middle or just the start of it, maybe for a couple months or some couple of months, they do it and then they go back. Any message for those kind of people, especially New Year's coming up, how to stick to their goals?
Well, the point is, in their mind, again, New Year is a day that's set in this scheme of things on a calendar, right? Every day is a new year, man. Every
Absolutely
day is a
lovely.
new year. The
Lovely.
day
That's what I
you
wanted to hear.
decide, the
Yeah,
day you decide that something needs to improve is
yeah,
your new year. You don't have to wait to the end of the year to establish
lovely.
those goals. Now,
Yeah.
coming to your new year point, and especially in those countries where the winter can be severe,
Mm-hmm.
it is now a reasonably well established thing that sunlight improves the mood.
True.
Okay. And there's a whole thing related to vitamin D and how vitamin D
Yeah.
uplifts mood. So, setting goals in at a time of the year when you're not feeling really upbeat anyway is a bit hard
Yeah.
to sustain if you think about
True.
it from
True.
that
True.
perspective.
True. True.
So, so in my mind, definitely set goals, whether you set them on January 1st onwards or you set them on 1st of July. Okay. Canada Day can be a good day to set up goals as well.
True.
There's
True.
nothing wrong
Very
with
true.
that, right?
Very
So,
true.
but the question now is sustainability.
Yeah.
Now, why people don't carry through or see through their goals is because those goals are half the time not driven where they have actual direct uh, result for themselves. So let's
Mm-hmm.
pick some of the common goals. People
Yeah.
will say, I want to lose weight, right?
Yep.
Now, anybody who has tried to lose weight will tell you it is a long term commitment, okay?
It is.
And you have
It is.
to keep trying not only from a exercise point of view but watching what you eat, the kind of food you eat, etc. so
Mm-hmm.
so if people are looking for results in 4 weeks, that are not going to come in, and that's not going to
True.
happen.
True. True. True.
Okay, so one has to break it down into manageable goals
Yeah.
and say, yes, I will lose weight, but maybe first month I may lose a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So January, I will, if they stick to their regimen.
Right.
Feb and March, I may not lose weight because on Valentine's I'll eat tons of candy and ice cream or whatever.
True.
And
True. True.
then maybe April and May I will start doing better. Now they
Yeah.
have put down those results in a very manageable expectation. So
Yeah.
now they can sustain it because they're not setting up these expectations where they have linear goals to say, I will lose 20 pounds in the next 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Something which is difficult to achieve. And when they don't see those results, they say,
Mm-hmm.
why do I even try? Why do I even bother?
True.
Okay.
True.
So that's what the other example I gave you. If they're trying to attract another opposite gender, and they can manage to do that even without achieving that goal. See, they've linked their goals, right? So they have linked their
Yep.
goals by weight loss to meeting someone. Now, if
True.
they meet
True.
somebody without actually achieving that, then guess what happens? That goal has no longer served them the purpose.
Absolutely.
So it's to drop that goal. Other popular goals, I would say, around New Year resolutions is somebody's going to say, well, I'm going to write a book or read a book. It's making it simple,
Yeah.
or some other things. Now, they have to be for a reason that is for themselves. It cannot be
Mm.
to impress somebody else, or it cannot be to please someone else.
Yeah.
Because if it is intended to impress or please some other person, whether it's their parents or their friends, a lot of people I know, sad I know them, but I still, they learn things so they can impress their friends.
Mm. Mm.
So the
Wow.
whole purpose of them learning about it, anything is so that when they meet them at parties, they can demonstrate their knowledge. It's
True.
not for their own benefit. It's
True.
just for their, so these to me are shallow goals. And shallow
Right.
goals are not very long lasting. They don't have an impact. Uh, so with COVID these days, a lot of people
Yeah.
are restricted at home, right?
True.
And
True.
when they're restricted, people who had these plans that we will have so many parties and we will do this and we will demonstrate, they don't find
Yeah.
that happening, and it's causing certain level of depression.
That's
I
true.
don't
That's
like
true.
using
Very
the
important
word
point.
depression because um, depression is more of a mental health state,
Yeah.
and people are mistaking sadness and melancholy state as depression,
Yeah.
which is I think a completely misuse of the term depression. Okay?
True. True.
Yeah, sadness is normal. Sadness happens.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Okay.
don't mix it with this. But
With
again,
depression on that.
why people don't achieve goals, and coming back to your point that with New Year's resolution, uh, very few New Year's resolutions get actually accomplished.
Mm.
So to summarize it, A, you don't have to wait till the new year to set a resolution. Number one,
Lovely.
the day you decide that's the day it will be. B, do it for yourself
Yeah.
and do it in micro goals which are achievable. And don't do it for other people, just do it for yourself. And I think
Lovely.
finally the most important thing is people, if they set themselves on how they will feel when they achieve that goal, okay,
Wow.
what level of personal fulfillment they will have.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if I want to learn how to play a guitar, okay, I'm just
Yeah.
picking one, and that's my New Year. It should not be that I will play a guitar for other people and they will
True.
watch me play it and they will appreciate me.
Yeah.
Because the moment I do that, I will not put in the effort because now I'm waiting for external appreciation to drive
True.
my
True.
behavior. But if I say I will do it because it will make me feel good that I create music and
Yeah.
that I can generate some, I think that will drive a certain level of behavior. If you look at
True.
athletes, the sports, people who prepare themselves for Olympics
Yeah.
or tennis, they play crazy amount of game and they practice day in day out, even when no one is
Yeah.
watching them.
True. True. True.
So what is their motivation? It's self improvement for themselves and
Yeah.
themselves alone.
Yeah.
That's my thinking. I think goals can be
Very.
clear, they can be more sustainable, and more enjoyable when you achieve them when they're driven with a specific feeling, and we don't set exaggerated goals. We keep them achievable. You've heard the term SMART, right? Specific,
Yeah.
measurable, achievable,
Attainable.
realistic, time.
Achievable target. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So the same
No.
principle is applicable.
True. 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 Haroon, as always, thank you very much. Lovely session. And as you rightly said, most of the times the goals which you are setting up for yourself, if they are not self-driven and they are not for your own satisfaction, you may end up not even achieving them, and may not even be able looking at it and what is the reason behind of those goals. Uh, Always a pleasure talking to you, Haroon. Thank you so
Likewise,
much.
Yusuf,
You
thank
know,
you. Yeah.
so always looking forward for any other sessions. Anything else you want to say before we say bye to our audience?
Well, I just want to say to everyone, we owe it to ourselves to live up to our human potential. We have been given a lot of gifts, and we need to live up and take advantage of those gifts that have been given to us by our God, or whatever entity we believe in. Okay, uh, and it's not fair to us ourselves if we don't try and discover what potential we have been given and limit ourselves. So it's not for anybody else, but for our own personal inner drive. And we should try and do the best we can every single day to make that difference and impact in us. There's a very good book I would highly recommend by
Yeah.
James Cleary called Atomic Habits,
Okay.
in which
Atomic habits.
yeah, so in which he makes the argument that this little 1% improvement a day has a mega impact over a period of time. So consistent
Wow.
little improvement a day has a huge and mega impact on the output and outcome in our life.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Haroon. Thank you so much, audience,
Thank
for
you.
watching us. And I will see you in the new year. Happy New Year to you in advance. And I'll see you in 2022. Take care of yourself, and thank you so much, Haroon. And bye to the audience.
Happy
Bye
New
bye.
Year. Thank you. All the best to everyone.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.